Welcome back to the channel. I want to go over with you today what I think are the 6 biggest mistakes I see middle-aged women make. But here's the thing, the good news is that any of these 6 mistakes could be reversed. They're not permanent, so you still can lose fat, you still can build muscle, you can still do whatever you want to do. So that's the great news. And here's the other thing. I've made every single one of these mistakes. So I am talking from personal experience as well. So I've got 6 very important things I want you to listen up for, and let's hit it. Okay, so the first mistake I see is when people just tell me they're eating clean or they're eating healthy and they're struggling to lose fat. So think of your situation. Does this apply to you? You are eating super healthy foods, clean foods, everything with all the good fats. You're eating the good complex carbs. You're eating lean meat. You're eating basically a very healthy diet. I was that person too. But the one thing that I failed to realize, and maybe you're failing to realize, is that eating clean and eating healthy is not always enough, especially if you want to lose fat. Eating clean and eating healthy has calories too, and that's the one thing I ignored the whole time. So if you're eating healthy and eating clean, that is phenomenal. And I want to make sure I make that very clear. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm saying, don't eat clean, don't eat healthy foods. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that if you're struggling to lose fat and you are only eating healthy, eating clean kind of foods, and you're not keeping track of how much of that you're eating, we've probably found an issue. The cure here is very simple, and you can approach this in different ways. Here's how I like to tell people to approach this. The first thing is write down everything that you put in your mouth, every single thing that you eat and drink in a day. You don't have to weigh, measure, track, or any of that. Just write it down so you have an idea of how much food and liquid you are consuming during the course of a day. And you can do that for a period of several days, weeks, however long you want to do it. But what that's going to do is bring an awareness to quantity, which is the real problem here. If you are struggling to lose fat, you are eating too many calories. And that brings us to tracking calories. That is the best way to know how much you are actually eating. So after you spend some time writing everything down that you are putting in your mouth, you can start to track the numbers and see how many calories you are actually eating. Because if you're not losing weight, that number of calories is too much for you. It's too much for your body to lose fat. You would need to reduce that number in order to lose fat. So the great news here is you can still eat healthy, obviously, and then this is easily fixed by becoming aware and starting to track your calories. That is the first thing. The second mistake I see middle-aged men and women make is that you start putting on the brakes in middle age. And what I mean by that is we kind of coast into middle age. You know, I used to think that when I hit middle age, retirement, I was gonna just right into the sunset and sleep in and drink coffee and lounge around, and my pace would just slow down. And I think many of us tend to go that route without really even thinking of it. And the problem with that is we need to do just the opposite, because with us becoming less and less active over time and not paying attention to our nutrition over time, what's happening? We're starting to put on weight, and we're wondering, why have I put on all this weight? So instead of putting on the brakes and going for walks and just taking it easy, and by the way, walks are wonderful, but if you are struggling to lose fat, just going for a walk is probably not going to be enough. Now, does that mean you shouldn't do them? Of course not. Everyone needs to walk. I walk, I move every single day now. But If you want to lose fat and you're in your 50s, you're in your 40s, or even in your 60s or beyond, keep moving every day. Go for your walk. But let's start hitting it hard, get into a gym, start strength training, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But strength train adds a little bit more cardio if you want, and dial in your nutrition and be aggressive with all of this. This is not a time to back off. I mean, Mother Nature's playing with us every single day between hormones and metabolism and all the rest. And if we want to conquer all of that, putting on the brakes is not how that's gonna happen. We need to be methodical, we need to be aggressive, and we need to hit it hard. The third mistake I see people make is that they just focus on cardio. So ask yourself this question: are you doing more cardio than anything else, or only cardio? And if the answer is yes, I really want you to pay attention because I think what I'm going to tell you is super important, and really important for anybody of any age, but especially for us middle-agers getting older. We start losing muscle mass at age 30 to the tune of 5 to 7 pounds per decade. So imagine that. We're already losing muscle just because of what Mother Nature has in store for us. But the good news to that is that we can combat that. We can actually stop that, and we can not only maintain muscle, but we also can build muscle. And that's where strength training comes in. And that's why strength training needs to be your focus, not cardio. And that doesn't mean that you can't do cardio. If you love to do cardio, do it. Absolutely do it. But bring strength training into your routine. Strength train 2 to 4 days a week is plenty. Sometimes people like to go 5. Okay, you could go 5. 2 to 4 days a week. Add whatever cardio you want to add in. Make strength training the priority first and cardio second. That combination is not only going to help you maintain muscle as you get older, but it's going to help you build muscle as you get older, which is going to make your quality of life better, which is what we all want. It'll enable you to do as much as you want for as long as you want. And let's talk about strength training for a second. I think some people who are newer to strength training, not familiar with strength training, may be feeling strength training is intimidating. It can be scary because when we think of it, maybe we're thinking of we have to lift the heaviest dumbbell on the rack. We have to get a barbell and load it up with weights, and that can be very intimidating. If you're new to this game, I get it. I get it. But strength training doesn't have to mean any of that. You know, if you think of it extremes, on this end we have a 100-pound dumbbell, and on this end we have a 5-pound dumbbell. There's a lot of room in the middle, and I think our brain automatically goes to the 100-pound, I've got to lift that. No, you don't. But should you lift more than the little one for a lot of the exercises? Absolutely, you should. It's about lifting as much weight as we can to start not only maintaining our muscle, but building more and more and more muscle. And the other great thing about strength training is that it can improve our bone density. You all know our bone density starts going down too, percentage-wise, every single year. And you know, strength training is gonna stop that right in its heels. And we can also improve our bone density. So we've got two really important things to remember that strength training is gonna do for us. It's going to help maintain and build muscle, number one, and number two, it's going to help maintain and increase our bone density. Both extremely important to all of us as we get older. The other thing that strength training is going to do, which I haven't mentioned, is it's going to change how we look. We can lose weight and really not even look that much different. But strength training is going to build muscle, and we're gonna get that toned look. I use that word tone because I hear that a lot, but the word tone just means building muscle, because that's how you see a little definition. You're not gonna get big and bulky and all those myths that we've heard for years. That is just baloney, and it's not true at all. No reason to be afraid of that. But strength training is gonna build some nice lean muscle, so you're gonna actually have some tone and shape to you, which is really what most people want. And the best news of all, I don't care how old you are. you can still build muscle. So keep the cardio, yes, but let's make the focus strength training and let's add cardio. That's going to be your best 1-2 punch. So the fourth mistake I see people make along the way is that they focus too much on how many calories am I burning. And you know, when you hop on a machine, or if you have an Apple Watch or a tracker of some kind, all of those cool devices will give you numbers. You're burning 350 calories, and your Apple Watch says you have earned 450 calories from today, you know, because you've burned that many throughout the course of a day, and all that kind of stuff. Here's the thing about whether it's a watch or the number on the elliptical or whatever, those numbers aren't accurate. And if you start paying attention to those numbers and adding calories back in as a result, you're gonna spin your wheels. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're on the elliptical, and the elliptical machine says in your little workout, you have burned 350 calories. The reality is you probably only burned half of that, maybe a little bit more, but definitely not 350. How is that machine gonna be able to accurately measure that? If you really think about that, it can't. Nothing really can, unless you're hooked up to all kinds of machines and wires. Nothing can really give you an accurate number. But if that machine says 350 calories and you're like, hallelujah, I am hungry, I'm gonna eat my 350 calories, what you've probably just done is taken yourself maybe out of a calorie deficit and have eaten those 350 calories when you really didn't burn 350 calories. You maybe only burned 175 to 200 tops. You went over your calories, and frankly, you probably ate more than 350, because we all kind of would probably do that. So now what's happening is you're adding more calories back in, and now your deficit's coming into question. And that's why some people spin their wheels. They keep adding back in the calories that they burned from exercise. So even the best watches or the trackers, they can't accurately measure how many calories you're burning either. Same thing, the percentage of error might be a little bit smaller, but probably not much. So instead of focusing on that and trying to make numbers work that way, ignore this. If you're using MyFitnessPal or any app that helps you track with that, turn that feature off, or just ignore it. Ignore it from your tracker. Do not add those calories back in. Focus on what you can control, and that is what you consume. That's what you can control, that's what you can weigh and measure, and that's what you can track. Track that, because you will know if you're in a calorie deficit. If you stick with that long enough, you're gonna start seeing changes, you're gonna start seeing the scale move, and you will be able to make adjustments if you need to. But other than that, forget the calories burned. That is one big reason why many, many, many people keep spinning their wheels. So starting today, ignore it. All right, so the fifth mistake I see so many people make is program hopping. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you just signed up for this cool program you saw on the internet, and it's like 2 weeks to a better body or whatever. And after 3 days, you're like, nah, this ain't for me. So you ditch that and you find another one over here that you want to test drive. 30 days to your ultimate weight loss or whatever. You start in on that one. Well, that one goes well for about a week, and then week 2, you're like, oh, this is a little tough. Don't think I can handle this. You can't do that one either. And basically what you're doing is you're hopping from the one program to the next, and you haven't given any program at all enough time to work. Whether it's a nutrition program, whether it's a nutrition guidelines for tracking your calories and tracking your protein, you only try that for maybe 3 or 4 days and then you give up on that. Or whether it's a routine in the gym, you try it for a couple times, you don't, it's not sitting well, I don't want to do that, so you'll hop to something else. The problem is the more you hop, the more you're just going to spin your wheels constantly. You need to give anything a chance to work. And here's something really important to understand. Even the worst program will give you results if you do it consistently long enough. If you have the best plan in the world and you are not consistent with it and you don't give it time to work, of course it's not going to work. So it comes back to patience, and it comes back to being consistent with whatever you're doing. So if you have nutrition guidelines, do your nutrition guidelines consistently for at least 30 days, maybe even 60 is probably better. But track consistently. And just to put out there, consistency does not equal perfection. I think they're two very different things. Consistency would be in the range of 80 to 90% of the time you are doing what you need to do, while the other 10 to 15% is kind of off track a little bit. That's being consistent. So being consistent with nutrition guidelines, being consistent with your workouts, with whatever workout program you choose to do, let it work its magic. Consistency is going to beat anything. So stick with something. Stop hopping to the next latest and greatest thing that you see on the internet. Pick your program, pick your guidelines, stick with them, track your progress, and let's see how you do. And the last mistake I want to point out that I see so many people make, especially as we get older, and it kind of relates back to number 2, and that is not pushing yourself enough. And what I mean by that is not getting out of your comfort zone. And maybe that means for you going to the gym. Maybe going to the gym feels super intimidating to you, super uncomfortable. And for that reason, you don't go. Maybe it's your nutrition. Maybe getting on the scale every day intimidates you. And it's scary and it makes you feel uncomfortable. I think when you have something like that and you know it makes you feel uncomfortable and you get that pit in your stomach, to me, that means it's something you should do. Because what's gonna happen is, and I'll use the gym as an example, if you're too intimidated to go to the gym and you just avoid it, you just say, I'm just gonna work out at home because I just don't wanna go to the gym. It makes me feel too uncomfortable. You work out at home and you avoid it. If you always avoid it, that fear will always own you for the rest of your life. It's always going to be right on top of you. And that is something none of us want. And I guarantee you this, if you face that fear head on, the first time, I'll tell you, is going to be tough. But the second time and the third time and the fourth time are going to be so much better. And you're going to look back and you're going to think, why did I avoid this for so long? You're going to feel empowered. You're going to have confidence. And that's going to transcend every part of your life. So do you think it's worth it? Oh, 100% I guarantee you it's worth it. Don't let anything own you like that, whether it's stepping on the scale or going to the gym or whatever it is in your life. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. That means you need to get a little aggressive with it. Don't fall for your own bullshit. We all talk ourselves into, well, I'm not gonna go today because I just don't feel great. I'm not gonna go today. I'll go tomorrow. And then tomorrow you're too busy. And then the next day it's something else. You have to say, stop. No, I'm going tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm gonna go. And if we keep using the gym as an example, have a plan when you go to the gym. Maybe the very first time you go to the gym, maybe you just get on the treadmill. That's cool. Get yourself in the door. And maybe the next time you have a list of exercises that you're gonna do when you go to the gym. And then the time after that, that expands. And it just keeps building and building and building. Because not only are you going to start seeing results from your efforts, but you're also going to start feeling better, feeling more empowered, feeling more confident. And that is worth every single second of feeling uncomfortable. And I'm just using in gym intimidation as an example, but you can also use scale intimidation as an example. Whatever it is, get in the gym and work hard. If it's your nutrition, plan. Put some effort into planning. Step on the scale every single morning so you can watch those fluctuations that drive us all crazy, but watch them so you can get used to what the scale does. Approach whatever feeling you have straight on, hit it square in the teeth. and you're gonna find that your life is gonna change. I promise you that. Okay, so I went over 6 mistakes, very common mistakes I see people make. Just to kind of recap them all. Number 1, where you only eat clean and healthy, and we don't really track the quantity. Number 2, putting on the brakes as we get older instead of hitting everything hard and pushing. Number 3, only doing cardio instead of incorporating strength training as the focus. Number 4, focusing too much on how many calories am I burning. Number 5, program hopping from one program to the next, not allowing any program to work. And number 6, not pushing yourself, not allowing yourself to be uncomfortable and not facing fears. I'll tell you, all of these are fixable with small, minor tweaks. I hope this has been helpful for you. Think about where you are in your own journey and which one of these you may want to work on. And as always, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to message me anytime. Really appreciate you being here. Take care and have a great day.